Very good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dr. Ganesh Rao, Executive Board Member of AIMS and Director of Pune Business School, and would be the moderator today for this webinar series, Inspiring Young Leaders, which has started from the past 2 months. And we're having an overwhelming response to this from the entire student fraternity, from faculty fraternity, both in India and abroad. This is organized by AIMS. AIMS is Association of Indian Management Schools, which was set up in 1988. It has got two roles. One is a development role, and other is a policy advocacy role. Both are very, very important. And AIMS has been very active on the developmental side through because it's a network of 600 B schools across the country. And we helps the institutes develop content, as well as faculty development programs, student development programs, a number of webinar series like this one, and the other one on knowledge sharing, in which also very, very important corporate personalities and academic personalities come and share the knowledge with our community. So it's both developmental as well as policy advocacy, protecting the interest of all the management institutes as well as the students. It also organizes the annual event, which is a seminar. It's an annual convention which is organized every year, at which the prestigious AIMS Awards are presented in various categories to the students, to the directors, to the institutions, in various subcategories, in order to motivate the students and the faculty and the institutions towards excellence in management education. Today, we have with us Dr. Sangeet Ibrahim. Dr. Sangeet Ibrahim is a Vice President, Learning and Development at the First Abu Dhabi Bank. He has been holding this position for the past 2 years. Prior to this, he was a Vice President, Learning and Development at Sharjah Islamic Bank. He has had a glorious tenure of almost a decade and a half in the banking sector in Abu Dhabi. He is also an excellent motivational speaker and has been conducting various sessions for young students and young executives over the past decade. Dr. Ibrahim is a PhD from the Banasthali Vidyapeeth. And prior to this, he is an MBA from the PSG Institutes. Dr. Ibrahim has done his graduation in engineering at the Manipal group of institutions. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Sangeet Ibrahim, and I will look forward to your presentation to the students on inspiring leaders. Dr. Ibrahim, over to you.
Dr. Ganesh, thank you for the lovely introduction and for the kind words. Other distinguished teachers present today in this session and members of AIMS, it's an honor. In fact, I spent 2 lovely years of my life under the loving care and guidance of Nandagopal sir. And it's always an honor and a pleasure whenever I get to associate back with him. We've had a very close relationship so far, and I look forward to having his continued support and blessings in my life all throughout. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad that so many of you have joined the session today.
Yes, sir. 1 minute. Sorry to intervene. We have a great personality in the OB area, Professor T.V. Rao, who was a former professor of IIM Ahmedabad, and he's one of the T.V. Rao is well known for the psychiatric models. We are very glad and happy to see you in this forum. Sir, welcome you, sir. Sorry to intervene, Sangeet. Please start.
Not at all. Dr. Rao, thanks a lot for joining. It's an honor. I'm a behavioral psychologist, and we keep working on different models to make sure that performance of people and organizations are enhanced. So would definitely love to be in touch and to learn from you as well. Dear friends, the first one to say hi in the chat box gets a gift. Not from me, from Dr. Nandagopal. Yeah. Can you out with your fingers and brilliant. Thank you, Shivam. Dr. Abhay, hi Lena, hi Bhavna. Good afternoon. Glad to see you all. Can you also type in the cities where you're from? I would just like to see the kind of diversity that we have today. All over, lovely. We've got somebody from Assam as well, Bangalore, from all corners of India. Yeah, it's an honor. Thank you. My dear friends, Dr. Ganesh has put me in a fix because he's given a very important question. He has asked me an important question. What I'll do is I've got a fixed agenda for the day, which is more about the skills that you can acquire today so that you can get a head start once you join the organization of your choice. Yeah. Because the first 6 months are extremely crucial, right? You've got people assessing you, watching you from all quarters, and it's a kind of make or break situation for the new joiner. So what skills can you acquire today? What are some of the things that you can do today while you're a student so that you can make a mark as soon as you join? There are a lot of other questions, interesting questions that Dr. Ganesh posts. So what we'll do is I'll sort of park it for the time being. And once I complete the agenda that I've set, we'll have a Q&A session where we could take these up as well. I hope it's fair, Dr. Ganesh. Yeah, we'll do so. Okay. I'm feeling a little uncomfortable to make it very informal because I've got my illustrious teachers here as well. So forgive me for that. Dear friends, let me share with you the story of a study that we conducted. When I say we, 4 or 5 of learning and development professionals. Okay, we came together. We were part of a benchmarking forum on WhatsApp. So we came together 4 years back and we asked the question, let's look at our own batches, okay, our PG batches or UG batches, and look at those peers who are doing exceedingly well today. So I'm turning 48 next year, though I don't look 48, I know, turning 48. So I'm saying, let's look at our peers who are doing exceptionally well today. And when I say well, it's not just about the money that they're making. It's not just about excelling in the corporate domain. It could be in NGOs. It could be as entrepreneurs. It could be people who are doing amazingly in non-profits as well. Okay. So let's look at these contemporaries of ours. Try to rewind back to the days when they were students and see whether there's a correlation between their habits as students and their success in later life. Okay. So we formulated the hypothesis, we collected data, we relied a lot on LinkedIn, we contacted a lot of professionals, not a huge sample size, around 150 professionals, and we drew some conclusions. Okay, so these conclusions I wanted to present to you in a lighter vein. So I request my distinguished teachers to forgive me. I'm sharing the screen. Dr. Ganesh, you can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. What we found is that predominantly we had 3 personality types among students, yeah? And we chose to call them blinkers, sinkers, and winners. Okay, you know the picture, right? The first one, that is Sheldon. So who's a blinker? A blinker, we're talking about those students, back then, whose focus was only on academics. 100% of the time was spent on academics. So from the hostel, go to the mess, go to the college, come back, go to the library, study till late evening. 100% of the time spent on academics. Now, I really respect the determination. I respect the diligence. But then we had some very interesting anecdotes to share. I had a friend who, I don't want to mention the name, Nandagopal sir would know. I had a friend who used to use a chalk and draw a line around his bed and say, please don't encroach here. Don't disturb while I'm studying. And then every time we used to play music or have debates and discussions, he used to come back and say, please be mindful of your decibel levels. Don't you have any civic sense? You need to reduce your sound. Now, again, with all due respect, the problem is when you spend 100% of your time pursuing academic glory, you really don't get time to expose yourself to other critical life skills. Now, what happened to the blinkers amongst us? We found that most of them got amazing jobs. Their first jobs were very, very good. Okay, they got absorbed into the best organizations, campus placements. But then later, so initially when the race started, they were well ahead in the race. But later we found that most of them sort of quietened down and slowly, went out of the radar. And we understood where the problem was. The moment they start getting into bigger projects, the moment they have to work with people, when people management skills are called for, these people had a problem coping up. Okay, so though the ascent was great, Later, it plateaued. I'm talking about their careers. Okay. Then we have the next category called sinkers. Now, sinkers are those people who wake up in the morning and the first question is, how can I have fun today? Okay. So then studies, assignments, research, writing reports, internships, all these were seen as distractions. The only question was, how can I have more fun today? And for a while I was doing my engineering, I don't tell a lot of people that I passed out from MIT Manipal, because my wife asked me, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, is from MIT Manipal, 4 or 5 years my senior. So she asked me, what were you doing? You're both from the same college. There was a time when I was a sinker as well. Yeah, but then later, I opened my eyes when campus placements started, because we used to consider ourselves as heroes of the campus. Yeah, we were everywhere. But when campus placements started, there were no opportunities for us, and the true heroes emerged, and we were all busy hiding ourselves. So that's when I opened my eyes and said, there's another strategy, and we need to embrace that strategy, and we call it winners. And the reason why I chose RDJ's image on this slide is, we need to be cool nerds. We need to be dapper nerds. We need to be happening nerds if we need to success in today's world. So now these are the students who, focused on academics, and that was extremely important. Yeah, they were paying attention in class, doing everything required to do well in academics, and then realizing that they've got a lot of free time. They've got a lot of free time once they focus on academics. So they were part of good clubs. They were part of good organizations. They organized a lot of meaningful activities in college. They played leadership roles. They were quite interested in building bonds with corporate sectors, having mentors, doing a lot of internships, and also building great relationships in the campus. When it came to sinkers, I found that a lot of them really struggled. Okay, when they enter the big bad world where fun is no longer an option, but you need to really go through the grind to succeed. It's an unforgiving world, right? Yeah. So then we found that a lot of them struggled. Some of them struggled and they were able to sort of catch up later, but they really struggled to go back. Just as an example from my life, a friend of mine got recruited in ITC immediately after passing out, and he was drawing 40,000 rupees. Yeah, those days, I'm talking about 1999. 40,000 rupees is a lot of money. And there was a sinker, okay, who was probably even more competent than him, who was probably more eloquent than him, who had much more skills than him, just because he couldn't do well academically, had to join a distributor of ITC for 5,000 rupees. And now when I speak to these students, because I keep in touch as this is part of our study, we find that most of them don't even want to talk about their past. They tell me, Sangeet, no, the past looks very dark. We don't want to talk about it. If only we had changed our priorities at that time. If only we had done what is required and then spent time doing everything else, life would have been extremely different. So self-hate sort of settles in. As a psychologist, let me tell you, God has got a very weird mechanism built in. Yeah, you have your potential. And if you don't rise to your potential, if you don't take efforts to reach your potential, what happens is self-hatred kicks in. It's as if your own soul is taking revenge on you. And that hits your self-esteem, that hits your confidence, that hits your abilities to tide through challenges, that hits your resilience, and you end up being a sorry figure. So how can you be a winner? I think the first question is, how can you focus on academics and focus on building all the other skills which are crucial for your life? That's the question that I want to ask. And we got a chance to really use this when I got an opportunity in 2019, when the government of UAE, they created what is called as a Higher College of Technology Governing Council. Now, this governing council, higher colleges of technologies, are the most prominent educational institutions in the country, in the United Arab Emirates. They brought together 58 HR and business heads from the private sector to ask the question, what are some of the critical success factors for new joiners? What do they have to come prepared with? What attitude should they have? What skills should they have so that they can have a running start in the corporate sector? So I was part of this study, and we had published it, and we came together with a small set of manageable, simple competencies and skills that you should have. And it's my honor to present that to you today. And then this is again, we have established the causation and the correlation as well, clearly establishing the fact that if you focus on these skills, you can do really well. Now, how do we do that? We started looking at the post-confirmation performance assessment scores of new joiners. So we looked at those who scored very well and then did an evaluation on these skills and found that there was, again, a correlation and causation. So what are those skills? But before getting into those skills, I hope you're familiar with the word entrepreneur, right? We've all heard the word entrepreneur, but are you familiar with the word entrepreneur? Now, every employer is looking at particularly new joiners coming into the organization. We want you to be entrepreneurs. It's not just excelling in your functional domain. Like you're an auditor, be a great auditor. You're a marketing professional, be a great marketing professional. You are into computer programming. It's much beyond that. We want every employee. These are the demands of the new workplace. Yeah, we want every employee to be an entrepreneur. So how do you be and how do you become an entrepreneur? Number one, it's not just about your regular day-to-day deliverables. It's not just about your job description. You should have in mind, you should be thinking about how can my organization get more customers? The best example I can give you is imagine you're running a restaurant. Yeah. Now in your restaurant, you've got two waiters. Now, one waiter does his job well. He does an exceedingly good job as waiting at tables, getting the order, making sure it's delivered quickly. He provides great service. He maintains good personal hygiene. He's an amazing waiter. But there's another waiter who also thinks, how can I get more customers to this restaurant? So when he goes out in the evening, he carries those small menu cards or the stickers of the restaurant and he distributes it. Okay, the second is how can I improve the customer experience? So he speaks to people saying that, are you happy with our restaurant? What can we make? How can we make things better? He works on reducing costs. So he goes to the owner and say, you know what? We're getting potatoes at X kilos, X rupees per kilo. There is a shop over there which is offering it at, probably Y, which is lesser. So he's always looking at reducing costs for the organization. He's looking at developing innovative products and services. How can I come up with something new that's going to give me a competitive advantage so that people flock to us and not to somebody else? He's looking at optimizing processes so that you get things done faster and there are fewer errors. He's also looking at engaging people better. Okay. And he's also looking at improving revenue and profits. I know these words are jumbled up. I just wanted to challenge you a bit so that you tax your brains to come with the right answer so that you remember it more, because the more challenging something is, the better the chances of you remembering it. So how can you be an entrepreneur is the question. Now, how can you prepare yourself now to be an entrepreneur is my agenda for the next 10, 15 minutes. The first one is academic excellence. So that is a given, right? So it's not just about studying. We call a group of students as strategic learners. You're strategic learners because you're only learning to pass the exam. What should I do? Which unit should I focus on? What are the subjects that I should look for? But then that's not the point, right? The point is to really know the concept so that you can apply it in real life. When you're an intern, when you're working in the organization, how can I be an authority on that subject? What extra materials can I avail? Who can I meet? Which mentor can guide me in this process? So the whole question is about imbibing what is being taught. The second one is business acumen. Now, guys, can you give me the answers for this in the chat box? Current crude oil prices, is it lower than last year's price? Is it true or false? I would like to see your answers in the chat box. The question is, current crude oil prices are lower than last year prices, true or false? Shubrangu, thank you for the answer. You say false. Arvind says false. Oh, everybody is following it, is it? I don't want to give the true answer, but I think you need to investigate, right? You need to check. Merlin Matthew says true. Yeah, some truths are coming up. Brilliant. Okay. My second question, which you can see from the screen, yes. The Sensex today, don't Google now. Is it greater than 50,000, less than 80,000, or greater than 70,000? Oh, you're well versed with the Sensex, is it? Some of you could be investing as well. That's brilliant. Lovely, lovely. Greater than 50,000. The first answer, you need to check your answers, yeah? The third one, the company with the highest market capitalization in the world. Is it Amazon? Is it Google? Is it Apple? Joshin, you're not supposed to answer, yeah? I was asking only students. Okay, Saloni says Apple, Vinayak says Apple, Sakshi says Apple. Brilliant, brilliant. I hope you get the point. Yeah. As students today, apart from academic excellence, what can you do to build up business acumen? Guys, any organization that you work in, what makes the winners distinct is your ability to understand how that organization makes money. Because at the end of the day, let's say even if you're an entrepreneur or even if let's say you're working for an organization, if you have to succeed, the organization has to succeed, right? So you need to clearly know what is the business model of that organization. How does that organization make money? What are their product streams? What is their business model? How do they manage costs? Okay, how do they manage their capital? How are they doing well? What are their growth plans? And it's not just a question of knowing the concepts vaguely. Yeah, you need to, from a practical point of view, you should be able to make this a target. Okay, as a new joiner, let's say 2 months after joining, you should be able to sit with the CFO of the company and have a conversation. Just imagine if you go and sit with the CFO of an organization. What are the kind of questions that you can ask which will catch his interest? What are some of the ideas that you can share with him? So having business acumen is extremely important, and that gives you a cutting edge at interviews, at group discussions, and even after joining. Yeah, so that's extremely important. Couple of books that I would like to recommend. 3 books that I would like you to read. I'm not saying go buy these books. I'm sure there are a lot of resources where you get them as well. You get the ebook versions. The Lean Startup, Traction, and the Business Acumen Handbook. Okay, I'll in fact type these names and share them as well later. But strongly advised, please do read these books. They give you a clear upper hand compared to others because you'll be able to speak the language of business. I remember when I was passing out, we wanted to come out with a memoir, a book with, the addresses. Those days, 99, the internet hadn't caught up much, right? So we wanted a hard copy book with the names and details of all our batchmates, and we put a contest saying, come up with a full form of MBA, of the abbreviation MBA, and I was the one who won it. I called it Making Business Alive. So MBA is all about making business alive, right? Bringing in that energy, bringing in that enthusiasm, bringing in those new ideas. So these books will definitely help you get a head start. Yeah. The third one is about future tech. Okay. How can you build more awareness on the technologies that are really sweeping us and the technology that's going to really rule the roost when you guys will start working? Number one, artificial intelligence and machine learning, not just a buzzword. Know the application, starting from RPA. Okay, the easiest AI application is RPA. Right now, there are so many. For us, strategy in our bank, previously there used to be a huge team working on strategy. Now it's all fed into an IBM Watson computer. And then what happens is the software with its AI interface gives you options, strategic options for the management to choose. They look at demographics, they look at competitor activity, they look at product trends, they look at the state of the economy, they look at the purchasing power parity of people, and then they suggest what options the organization should go for. Know about blockchain, please. I know some of you might be well versed in it, but please know about blockchain. Okay, and I'm saying when you say know about blockchain, is not just about it's a distributed ledger, No, that's just a theoretical aspect of it. Please get to know about blockchain. Know coding basics. Okay, and now it's so easy, right? Python is there, and I remember I used to sweat in a computer lab learning C and C++ those days. Nowadays, even coding has become so easy and simple. some of you might challenge me to say, why should I learn coding? I'm not becoming a programmer. But you don't have to be a programmer. For you to effectively use AI and machine learning applications, you need to have basic awareness of coding. Okay. And the fourth is, again, people are getting away from Excel, right? Excel is slowly dying. We are getting into Tableau. We are getting into Power BI. So these organizations where you work in, you need to have a clear orientation of data visualization, a clear orientation of data analytics. Guys, data analytics is the future. Okay, so one of the questions we had a DA guru coming, and I was interviewing him for a knowledge sharing session. So I asked him, when you talk about data analytics, what should you focus on? So he said, Sangeet, what information would you like to have about your competitor? So I said, I would like to know about the most recurring customers. I would like to know about the cost of capital that they incur. I would like to know about A to, and said, then do you have the same information about your own organization? With the kind of data that you have, are you really analyzing and keeping data ready? So again, this is about the UAE. The picture in India is not very clear for me because I haven't done research about India, but this is the picture in UAE. You can see United Arab Emirates, a country that I'm in, and you can see the potential for automation. So banking and finance, the finance and insurance sector that I'm in, 38% of current jobs can be automated. 38% of current jobs can be automated using existing technology. So we're not talking about something that's going to happen in the future. We're talking about something that's happening right now as we speak. So how can we be more conversant with those skills? I hope you'll go and check this out. There's a beautiful website, which is again AI based. It's Will Robots Take My Job? Okay, so you enter the kind of job that you're interested, and based on the latest statistics, it will tell you the percentage chances of that job being automated. And if you enter auditor, if you enter accounts, you'll be scared because the chances of that being automated are very, very high. Yeah. So do check that out. The URL is Will Robots Take My Job? Some free sites where you can learn. I strongly advocate edX. I don't know whether you've explored edX. edX is a site where you can get free certifications from Wharton, from London Business School, from MIT, from Stanford. The courses are free, but you'll have to pay for the certificates. But the certificates are around what, $100, $150. A very good investment to have. There are a lot of 101 blockchains is my favorite site where you can really learn practical concepts about blockchains, even take part in a blockchain. There are a lot of practical examples where you can do that. This is another website where you can learn about machine learning. Again, absolutely free. And Udemy, of course, has got a lot of free content on data analysis. You can learn about data analysis concepts. You can learn about Power BI. You can learn about Tableau. The final one that I want to talk about is interpersonal skills. Okay, extremely, extremely important. And when I talk about interpersonal skills, I think the moment you start working in an organization, it's not just about your system, your code, your job description. It's not just about the close environment that you're working in. How do you build relationships with peers in other departments? How do you build relationship with your boss's peers? How do you build relationship with your partners and your other stakeholders? Extremely, extremely important. So I use a very simple model. Okay, normally there are three kinds of people in this world. The first one, we call them passive. Now, these are people who are, very quiet even when other people behave disrespectfully. They push you, they take advantage of you, and you keep quiet. These are people who cannot say no when they want to. They're very worried, oh my God, will I upset others? These are people who find it extremely hard to express their own opinions, to dissent, to debate. And they always feel, oh my God, no one is listening to me. And they don't complain when their rights are denied. On the other hand, you've got people who are very aggressive, right? It's my way or the highway. They have no problem arguing frequently. They have no problem pushing other people. They frequently get angry. Now, from experience, again, working for the last 22 years, we find maybe 30% of the working population could be passive, maybe around 10 to 15% could be aggressive. And I find that neither of them succeed in the long run. For you to succeed, so simple example, when you go to a restaurant and you order food and the food that comes is cold, if you're passive, what do? You silently eat. No, let's not complain. But if you're aggressive, you bang the table and you make a big drama. Don't you know who I am, kind of thing. Your colleague hasn't returned something they borrowed. If you're passive, you'll say it's okay. You don't want to ask, you don't want to challenge, you don't want to inquire. But you're aggressive, you call up and then you make a drama. Someone criticizes your work. If you're passive, you quietly accept. If you're aggressive, you fight back and then you don't even listen to the person. Instead, there is a middle path, which is being assertive, where you ask for what you want, okay, with confidence and respect for others. You say no when you want to, irrespective of who is asking. You debate with other people without getting angry, with confidence and respect. And it is assertive people who win. So you need to develop your assertiveness skills. Can I see in the chat box, your own assessment about your personality type? Are you passive? Are you assertive? Are you aggressive? Thanks for opening up, Shreya. It takes courage to be vulnerable. Yeah, brilliant. Maybe assertive. Okay. Oh, Sakshi. Sakshi says he's aggressive. Okay. I can see a lot of passives there. Now I used to be a passive person because I have some people-pleasing tendencies in myself. But that's not going to take us anywhere, yeah? And passive people, usually they give up. They don't push hard. They don't say no, and they have an excuse for themselves. They say I'm being kind, but actually they're not being kind. Being kind is something totally different. They do so because they cannot handle the discomfort that they feel inside. Before saying no, the discomfort that they feel. Before going and asking for a raise, the discomfort that they feel. Yeah, so that becomes a problem. Guys, please understand, yeah. If you're passive, you will not go and negotiate a raise with your manager. You will not be able to go and negotiate price when you're selling to a customer. Yeah, because that discomfort will overwhelm you. So you need to have behavioral flexibility if you need to win. So you need to really work on your interpersonal skills, and that's going to take you places. So these 5 skills in particular: academic excellence is one, developing business acumen is another one, developing future tech skills, a very strong one, developing your interpersonal skills, and finally, the 5th one are your presentation skills. How many of you watch TED Talks regularly? Can I see your response to the chat box? Sakshi says yes. Sakshi, you are the aggressive one, right? I'm not picking on you. Yeah. Anybody else? Not regularly, sometimes. Okay, guys, let me tell you what happens, okay? Typical example of what happens in our part of the world. Usually, new joiners are recruited on block. So 30, 40 new joiners are recruited together, and they're put on an induction program lasting maybe 2 months or 3 months or something. Now, when this induction program is over, they graduate, right? So there's a graduation ceremony. And in this graduation ceremony, normally the senior management of the organizations work. I'm talking about world-class organizations, good organizations. So before the graduation ceremony, people from HR and training and development will call everyone and say, guys, we want one of you to speak at that event. Okay? Because we want you to talk about the programs, the experience that you gained, okay, and your outlook for this organization. And immediately everyone starts looking down. And we're like, guys, come on, you need to speak. It's your opportunity to be seen. It's your opportunity to be heard. And then everybody looks down again. Then one of them might, by mistake, look up and we're like, oh, he's going to speak. Wonderful. And we catch him and he's saying, oh my God, no, I don't want to. We catch him, we train him, we coach him. Okay, we let him practice, we give him feedback. And on that day, in front of the CEO, in front of the senior management, he speaks. Let's say his name is Sanjeev. Yeah. Now, the next day when the CEO is walking and the CEO happens to see a bunch of new joiners and Sanjeev is in the lot, who does he recognize? He recognizes Sanjeev. And the beauty is, if you can really present yourself well, there are a lot of studies that show that it provides a halo effect. So a guy who presents well, normally people assume that this guy is knowledgeable. Normally people assume that this guy is very assertive. This guy, he is very energetic. So it automatically gives you a halo. And one thing I can tell you, if you can work on your presentation skills, it directly hits your self-image. It directly hits your self-confidence, because the applause that you hear, the appreciation that you hear directly hits you. And then it improves your self-image. So listen to TED Talks. I had the opportunity to speak at 2 TEDx events. Okay, so you can Google me on TEDx, and there are two sessions that I've given, and my request is, in your respective colleges, create a speaking club, and if possible, conduct a TEDx event. TEDx events can be conducted by colleges. Yeah, you just have to get a license from TED, and you can do it. So again, have these apps available on your mobile phone. You can choose. You can say, I only have 5 minutes today. I want to listen to something humorous, and you get a talk that helps you. And the kind of learning that you get, especially, will boost your presentation skills significantly. So what I want to do is run a small Mentimeter. I'll type the code here. You need to go to menti.com, and you need to type the code 15814162. Please don't go to mentimeter.com, go to menti.com and type 15814162. And what will open up is, it's this page. Let me stop sharing this. And share the screen. Can you go to menti.com and type 15814162? It's available on screen. The question I'm asking is, please choose the areas that you excel in today. You can choose more than one option. Lovely. We're beginning to get some responses. Brilliant. Thank you for all those responses. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. I hope my illustrious teachers can see a clear gap here. Just because I mentioned it. Come on, bring it on. Lovely. Okay, so we'll stop this for the time being. So presentation skills, 36% of you are saying that you're relatively good, but please enhance your skills. Do everything possible to do it better, because it's one opportunity for you to really stand apart in a crowd, and your visibility increases and you get counted. Interpersonal skills, only 21%. That's something that you need to work on. So I hope you have a lot of group coaching happening in your organizations. Future tech, guys, it's not an optional topic. Data analysis is something you need to know, particularly since for your final year research, you'll be working with data, right? So don't let the SPSS be done by somebody else. Make sure that you do it yourself. Work with your tutors, get a good guide, and work on those quantitative techniques. It's extremely important because they come in handy in the organization. Regardless of which department you work in, you'll be working with a lot of data. And then please start learning about Power BI, or Tableau. Again, I've indicated some free websites, particularly Udemy and edX and all those sites which can give you that education free. Business acumen, no excuse. You need to read, you need to understand. All of us are not finance students, but you need to know about those ratios. You need to know about, for example, when an organization starts up, what are the challenges? When an organization goes public, how are the prices determined? How do you calculate market capitalization? So these are things that you need to know. Academics, I find it strange that it's only 26%. So we probably don't have a lot of blinkers here, but you need to know that we cannot afford to be sinkers. We need to make sure that, we become winners, where we pay good attention to academics as well. Let me stop sharing my last 2 slides. I don't want to take much time because I want to give some time for questions. Okay. See, where if I'm writing a book, I can decide the outcome, right? I can say that I did this program for AIIMS, and then after that program, everyone who attended, 100 participants, and all of them, started working on building their business acumen and all that. But that doesn't happen. I'm not writing a book. This is reality. And what I know is that we know a lot of stuff, but we don't do. How many of us know that, we shouldn't type while driving? All of us know. How many of us type while driving? How many of us know that we should exercise more? All of us. How many of us exercise more? Very less. How many of us, Sheikh Samim, yeah, you type while driving? Thanks for opening up. How many of us believe that, we should eat less, but how many of us eat more? So knowing is different. So my humble request is, this is a beautiful personal coaching tool from Marshall Goldsmith. Create a personal checklist and ask yourself every day, take a screenshot of this. Okay. And I'll put it on your mobile, or click a picture from your mobile. Ask yourself, did I do my best today? Every single day, revisit this page. Did I do my best today too? Excel in academics, develop business. It could be just about reading an article for 10 minutes a day, doing a Udemy course maybe once in a week, building your your assertiveness muscle, by working on it, watching a TEDx talk, and then of course having loads of fun as well. Yeah, because these are some of the best days of your life. But if you answer only yes to academics, then you end up being a blinker. And I told you what happens to blinkers, right? Great ascent, but then they plateau. But if you answered yes only to loads of fun, then you end up being a sinker. And I've seen so many of them really, really struggle, and they have immense potential. And that's the sad part, It's usually the most talented ones who become singers. But if you get to answer yes for all these, then you get to become a winner or an RDT. Ladies and gentlemen, my humble request to AIM and to the organizers, please try to have employability lab sessions which could focus on this, because it's been proven that these have a direct correlation and causation on new joiner success. I would love to associate in whatever way possible, and would like to be a part of this journey. Thank you, Dr. Ganesh. Thank you, Nandagopal sir. So that's the end of my formal session. If we have time, we can definitely take some questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sangeet Ibrahim. You have put many complex issues in a very simple presentation. So simple presentation, with your smile, you made life look very easy. Okay. But I think that is your presentation skills and a lot of experience that you have, and your success, your confidence that you gain with your success. Indeed, a great model for all the students. I would request all the students and people gathered here to post their questions so we can take them up one by one. In the meantime, I would request Nandagopal sir to address, because Mr. Ibrahim has been one of his illustrious students. So, few words, sir.
Thank you, Ganesh. I think a very interesting and excellent presentation by Sangeet. As a student itself, he is doing extremely well. I think he created a lot of things which still PAG-IIM practices. The Week of Wonders, which was created by him. After 25 years, still the Week of Wonders is going very strong. So as a student itself, he has excelled very well. It is not a surprise that now as an executive is doing extremely well. Thank you, Sangeet, for excellent presentation. I think as mentioned by Ganesh, you made it very simple. I think the students community should know the kind of things which they have to take it up. I'm very happy that it was a good presentation. Thank you once again.
Anytime, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
One very simple question, because I'm a director for the past 15 years. Students usually are very confused. Should they go for the big brands or should they go for startups. Now, learning is more in the startups, but if I join a larger organization, I got a social standing and I can tell everybody in my neighborhood that I work for Tatas and Birlas. But if I say I work for Peter and Paul, maybe I get a more rounded personality. What is your advice to students on this?
Brilliant question, Doctor. And let me be very careful giving an answer to this, because I don't want to sound authoritative, because the debate is going on and you get compelling arguments from both sides. But what's happening is, though we have heard a lot about startups, though we have heard that the economy is changing, we are moving into a gig model. So you have a garage and a business idea, you can do well. This is what we keep hearing. But if you look at the number of organizations, there was a study done by Silicon Valley, I think probably in 2021, which says that even today, if you look at the number of organizations registered, the bigger ones still rule the roost. So there are a lot of small organizations that start up and they rise over the radar, and then after that fall down. If you join a small organization, you learn a lot of agility skills, you learn a lot of transformation skills, and you learn innovation. So 3 critical skills needed for the future, because you have to innovate in a small startup. You have to be extremely agile. The customer changes the direction, you have to change. And you have to know about transformation, because you're changing every day. But what I have found is that when you join a large organization initially, again, I'm not talking from a brand perspective. I'm purely talking about the kind of grounding that you get, the policies and procedures that you have access to, the processes that these organizations follow, the kind of training that you get. So my humble suggestion would be, please join an established organization. Okay. Consider that as your learning ground. Understand about the market, understand about processes, understand. I joined First Abu Dhabi Bank, and in the last 2 years, I would have worked with Deloitte, I would have worked with PwC, I would have worked with Ernst & Young, I would have worked with Gartner. If I had joined a startup, it would have been just me and the resources that I get by myself, only Googling, and maybe my mentors. But the amazing amount of learning that you get when you join a large organization can really prepare you. But don't stay there. There's a nice model, I'm not talking about entrepreneurs, I'm talking about corporate people who want to work in the corporate sector. First, join a large organization, work your way up there, but you cannot grow beyond a particular level because the organization is large. After working there for 3 or 4 years, shift. After 2 years, I'm now shifting to another organization. So shift to a smaller organization where your designation and grade can be higher, because they'll say, oh, this guy is coming from Tata, this guy is coming from this organization. So they give you a higher grade. Work their way up there, create your impact, make a bang, work there, rise to the level of maybe a deputy CEO or CEO or whatever, and then go back to a large organization. Because when you go back to a large organization, you get extremely good retirement benefits and you get more visibility. I worked for Ricoh, and I had an opportunity to travel maybe around 80 countries around the world conducting training. So I went to Cuba, I went to Siberia. So you don't do that when you join a startup. Yeah, it's exciting, it is challenging, but please don't lose out on the opportunity, the learning opportunities and the exposure opportunity that a large organization gives you.
Dr. Ibrahim, another very popular question, and this is a kind of a rat race that all the students are in. Companies come to the campus, announce the packages. And now, for a bit of a few thousand more here and there, students immediately start jumping as if it is a race for getting 8 lakhs, 9 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 12 lakhs. Now, are those reasons justified? And what is your advice as a corporate person? Because academicians usually are very conservative. They say stick to a steady job, while youth today, are always in the fast gear. So what's your advice? How should a student take a decision if it's 20, 30% difference in the salaries? What criteria should a student look at?
Sir, if you're talking about joining an organization and then shifting when you get a better offer from somewhere, my humble advice would be
your first job.
Oh, the first job, you mean evaluating alternate proposals?
Yes.
And okay.
At campus level.
I have a feeling, of course, money is important. As long as you're not an entrepreneur, money is important. We all have to pay our bills. and your first, what you get paid for your first job. Because nowadays most organizations have a policy, when you shift, they don't give more than 40% of the previous job. So suppose, I'm joining, I'm in a, let's say an SME, and I'm joining a blue chip organization. They might be able to afford 3 times what they plan to pay me, but they won't give you more than 40%. So money is important. I'm not being idealistic. I'm not being philosophical. Money is important. But I think you need to have a decision matrix for you where the brand name is extremely important. Okay. The work environment is, guys, you will not realize the value unless you start working, because your line manager, the environment that you have, the culture in the organization. That is why what I strongly advise is, before you join an organization, please connect with somebody on LinkedIn who works there and have a candid discussion on what is the work environment. Is it engaging? Does it support new joiners? Will you be allowed to co-create something? So give a lot of importance to the culture, give a lot of importance to the brand. Okay. And then ideally you should not be, people might disagree. You should not be working in an organization for more than 3 to 4 years, because nowadays it's seen as a liability, because then you become a part of the culture, and you will find it extremely tough to be flexible, to adapt to different cultures. But if you keep shifting, let's say in 6 months time or 1 year time, that will be seen as being impulsive. That will be seen as somebody who has very short-term plans. That could be even seen as somebody with an attention deficit issue. So you need to be very careful. I would tell you, if my son asks me this question, I'll tell him, his name is Aman. Aman, give 30% weightage for salary. Okay, maybe around 40% weightage for the organization culture. Speak to people, understand how it is. It's called conversational research. You ask people, what is your typical day like? And the other 30% for the brand name. So that could be a good sort of decision mix to have. Yeah.
Throughout on the chat, I see a lot of appreciation for the very wonderful talk that you've given. And I should say that I've conducted a lot of webinars, but your talk has been outstanding in the same that, a great teacher is somebody who puts very complex things in a very simple manner. And I think your presentation, the way you have put it, has been very, very inspiring for all of us. I look at many such more sessions that we could have, and President Nandagopal could guide us as to how we could have you more number of times mentoring, thousands of management graduates across the country in this kind of a simple way. India is going global. We have a prime minister in UK who is of Indian origin, and next week we have a gentleman from India who is the chief research officer in the White House. So we've got a lot of successful people like you, who are going abroad, and great role model for all of us. So thank you so much for being here and for guiding us and making this a very memorable webinar. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, sir. If I may just say one thing to the students, please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and please feel free to message me. I'll try my level best. I always do, to answer your queries. Yeah. So our conversation can continue. Dr. Ganesh, thanks a lot for the nice words. I hope and pray I was able to make at least some impact. And as Dr. Nandagopal, whenever he inquires, I say, sir, any time for you. So please, would love to